Well, hello there, everybody. It is Prosperity Monday. How are y'all doing? Good to see you. Good to be back. Trust that you're. Oh, excuse me. I literally swallowed my mint. Sorry about that. Well, now let's just hope it goes down, huh? Wow. How about that? Could have had a whole choking session here, which would have been a real drag, as I can feel it going down my esophagus. So all is well. But anyway, how are y'all doing? As he says that, yeah, what can I say? Um, that was an interesting experience. But what's up? Hey, Rick. Hello, everybody in the chat room. Open-minded says, yeah, speaking favor over us all. True. Um, anyway, got to get focused back. Yeah, it's odd, because you see these things all the time, how people choke, and it's real. Is that reality? Guess it would be a form of reality. But anyway, we got favor upon us, and it's by the bucket loads. No, it's the dump truck. And as we like to say, nothing missing, nothing broken. And for whatever you do, please be kind to your mind. So, hey, Lost in Space, Matt, how is everybody? Chloe, how are you doing? How's everything in the crystal store? Yeah, gotta get you on, promote you out there. Yeah. Holiday season coming up. Always good. Uh, Sonoran, good to see you. Jackie, what's up? Lost in Space, how's everything out there on the other side of the coast? Maria, good to see you as I just scan down. Kristen, hello, Jet. Stephen and Carol and Know Thyself. Read that somewhere. Go, go, all the way from Croatia. So good to see you. Rick, how are you doing, brother? Much favor to you. Felix, Fortuna, good to see you as well. Purgatory Traveler, how's the travelings going? Yeah, you know, there is a certain mindset that says that this is purgatory. Yeah. I mean, if you think of the concept and how it was thought up, hmm, don't know. All I know is that there's a lot of different ways. Loretta, good to see you, darling. Tell you what, I like traffic, excuse me, Midnight Flyer, Trapeze. Mm-mm-mm. Anyway, so lots happening since the last time we met. I finished this book. Actually, I've reached out to Dr. Lynn and hope to be having her on here. This is a fabulous read. I'm on to her next book. And something happened along the way as I was reading this. And I was reading parts where I said, this seems awfully familiar. I haven't read this book before, but what I was reading, I had a direct connection to, you could say, psychically, mentally, maybe even spiritually. And my soul resonated. And we're going to get into this because we're going to go first and take a little journey back. And it's going to be through the week. I'm going to do this Wednesday, trying to see if we can get together with Mike and Cindy. And Friday, I may not be able to be here. I have to take my wife uh, to appointments. So that's what husbands do. But anyway, we're going to take and it's going to seem an auspicious journey. And sometimes you have to go back in order to move forward. And it's really synchronicity. It's beyond odd. It far exceeds coincidence. This is almost like it was directed, guided, and you who are listening and watching, all of y'all in the chat room. Hi, Bonnie. Good to see you, Elderberry. What's up? Um, you've been on the same journey, which is quite interesting because we have a beautiful core group here. I mean, it's tight. which means that we're all sharing a version of this because we're seeing it through our individual lenses of perspectiveness and it's far out. Yeah, I have often, well, I can say this because I was in there, but I have suspected for quite a while that the technology that we are seeing now is not of human origins. As you and I have been on this journey, we've learned more. You bring your knowledge and you share. I bring mine and share, and that's how we grow. And what I have suspected as I continue to study, to learn, that there seems to be a constant theme that comes up. And that the theme is that this doesn't feel human. The technology that we are now immersed into does not feel human. It feels alien. And it is propagating at a rate that's not natural. What you and I are experiencing is not natural. This is not the way things are supposed to be. Something of an other conscious nature is here. It's never left. And we're going to find out that if AI can be described as anything, it would be described as an alien consciousness. And understanding how AI, there is no singularity, at least none that I know of, not to saying that it couldn't already have happened, but if AI ever does reach that singularity, then it is validation even more that it is of an alien nature. And when I was in Silicon Valley and, seeking venture capital funding, you there is an energy. If you ever been on Sand Hill Road, you know what I'm talking about. And it is surreal. We've been on this journey. It will be coming up on 12 years. Imagine that. And we have discussed things, for instance, D-Wave, quantum computing, and how their founder said that when they turned on this God chip, that it felt like they were in the presence of an alien God. They felt like kneeling down to it. So is it really alien, or was that it had to either guide us or inject itself into our consciousness in order for it to be able to fully manifest within this dimension, this realm? Maybe there is this what if you've firewalls, you partition your server and you partition this side and you can actually make a firewall and where nothing can get into to contaminate. Whatever it is, it's very clear that if you've studied this, and we're going to go and take a step back just to see how much guidance we have really been given, that several things come into play. Now, for me personally, many questions have been answered for myself on the adventure that I started some, well, if you look at it, out there, it would be 55 years ago. And how those events have guided and prepared me, same here, your path, the same thing. Whatever that path has been, whatever your experience has led you here. Now ponder that. Of all the billions of choices, you would find yourself amongst others here. Very interesting. And my point is, I have known but have come to fully understand that my initiation started back in Houston, Texas, and it was the year 1972. I was living with a guy named Nelson in Bel Air, Texas. We had been at a Creedence Clearwater and Bo Diddley concert. At that concert, I dropped some window pane, clear light acid. And when I was coming out of that concert and seeing it, I can still remember John Fogerty every time he hit that guitar. Man, the freaking brilliance of anyone. Um, it there was a journey, there was an initiation that I was about to get into that I hadn't fully prepared for. I've dropped a lot of acid, but this one was interesting because as I walked out, I'm going to share this experience because it's important and relatable to what we're talking about. So I remember meeting Kate Klinsman, and I had met her when I was awarded the state up at Camp Penile. And if many of you know my story, you'll relate to that. Anyway, I was really freaking stoned and hallucinating very heavily, may I add. And I remember that look in her eye was that, what has happened to you? What is going on? And so that was a real intense thing. And if you're really beginning to peak on LSD, you know that you get in emotional intensities like this. It can really affect you. And it did. So we went on back to Nelson's house, and I was outside leaning on the car on the window, on the hood, and was looking up at the moon. And if many of you know the Moody Blues in Search of a Lost Chord, if you've seen that album cover, that's what it kind of looked like. And that's where I had this full out-of-body experience and met these beings. Now, I was just a 16-year-old kid. I mean, and it was like, yeah, what did I know, right? But it took nearly a half a century later to understand what really happened there. And the why this is relatable, because in Silicon Valley, there is this thing, and it's been a thing for quite a while, that many of the visionaries microdose, microdose on DMT, microdose on LSD, psilocybin, and it does something. Damn right it does something. It connects you to these beings. Or call them Anunnaki, and we'll get more into that. But nevertheless, and it is through this connection when you begin to see this that you begin to realize that our technology, I mean, is it benefiting mankind? The next phenomenon that is here is AI. Well, AI, again, is not in a singularity. It is many different branches, but it nevertheless represents an alternative consciousness. Not organic, mechanical, but conscious nevertheless. It's learning. It now learns faster than we do individually and probably collectively. So you look at how the technology we did, and in fact, it's called We Worship What? And it was a phenomenal presentation. I went back and looked at it, and wow, I mean, it was being guided, it was channeled. I wasn't naming it correctly. And even now, the Anunnaki, because we have an historical record of them, it's pretty well in the academic world believed that they actually existed. They were, I don't know, maybe the first humans. There are no humans today. We are all hybrids. As I wrote there, all humans are hybrids, but not all hybrids are human. And it would appear that something has happened. And that was my conclusion. I mean, I tore this book up. I mean, just page after page. And as I wrote to Dr. Lynn, I said, it's just really kind of interesting how when you begin to read the thoughts and the research of an accredited, credentialed academic, well, it's refreshing to realize that, all right, what seemed to be the fringe is not the fringe. We were actually barrier breakers, pioneers, breaking new ground. And it doesn't take that much for an individual to step back and look at this objectively and realize that something of a other than human nature has to be at play. The advancement that our species is making, as I said earlier, is not normal. Now, we're going to go back. Before we do that, I want to show you some really great articles I found, and I'd like to put this out because it helps put this in context. Ba-da-da-da-da. So this is, as you can see, Scientific American. I'd say that they're a pretty legit publication, right? And this was June 1st of 2023. And we're not going to read the whole article, but the fact is, it said most aliens may be artificial intelligent, not life as we know it. That's important because it validates several things. We think that we're the creators of this thing called artificial intelligence. We just may have been the workhorse. And not all minds can be visionaries. And particularly when you look at, well, like for myself, when I was part of and we were just a small little group, we were breaking ground back in 2005, 2006 that had never been done in the payment area, particularly with perfecting and bringing to the United States pay at the table. And then I remember when the idea hit me, I was actually in Austin, Texas. And from there, I was a bachelor at the time. I was in some deep meditation. And for the next, oh, I guess 3 months, I was down the rabbit hole. But I was writing a completely new code. And I can tell you it came from outside. But anyway, so the point is that we've created this thing. And so let's just say that we weren't. Maybe we were the ones who received the repository of data. Because the new phenomenon now is data centers. They're even thinking about putting one in where I live, which is out really in the country. And if you look at this, these data centers are everywhere, springing up everywhere. Why? What has changed with humanity that now we suddenly need these huge data centers that are consumers of huge amounts of natural resources, electricity, water, silver, I mean, precious metals. It just goes on and on. Why? Humanity has been able to exist in a nature for thousands, it depends on your point of view, tens of thousands of years. Didn't seem that we ever needed data centers, but they're everywhere. It seems conscious to me. And we'll look at this as well, alien intelligence and the concept of technology. This is another one um, where it gets into, do we really know what an alien would look like? And what if, in fact, that there are these huge gaps in the timeline, in the chronology of events? And what made our minds so much more susceptible to this technology as to opposed to a mind who, let's say, witnessed the last Star Wars on planet Earth right around the 15th century? What was the difference between that brain and this brain? And if you look at this, I documented this of what happened between 1930 to 1970. Something happened. You can call it a supernatural, you can call it whatever, but something happened. It altered the course of us. So, and lastly, could an Earth-like alien civilization detect us? This is a good story. I've saved it. We're going to probably reference back to it because this is another one that, I mean, the whole idea of connecting to an alien consciousness. How would that actually look like? What would it look like? How would we be able to interpret it and perceive it? Would we even know? The question would become, let me get out of this. Would we even know? I mean, look what's happened to us already in this takeover of this thing we call AI. It's everywhere. And it ain't going away, brother and sister. It's getting bigger and bigger. But why? Huh. So we got a lot of material to cover. I want to take you that have been following me. I want you to go back. Look at the shirt. That'll get you going. To 2018. It was November. And I did a video about a night visitor, a night visitation. This is so weird because so I was meditating. Actually, it was Saturday night. Yeah. It was quiet in the house, and Bentley was, just being Bentley, just lovable dog. And I suddenly wrote this down. And I guess it's about me. It said, dig this. Even in darkness, I am light. I thrive in both. Light is darkness. For light, um, for light contains darkness. Darkness contains light. I am both. Isn't that interesting? Thought I'd share this because you get it deep into this, and again, that little organ back here called the pituitary, pineal gland, excuse me. Um, those of us that, again, making reference to how that gland is stimulated, made active, different ways, different approaches, but once it becomes active, it really never shuts down. Even if you think it is, it'll show itself, in my case, in my spiritual journey. And as I'm looking back now, I'm going, the connection that I made 55 plus years ago is still active today, even more so. And for this is relevant to a lot of people listening to this. So let's go back to a time where I did this video and you can actually see it. But there was a reason, because I was like, all right, what am I looking at this for? Because I had basically forgot uh, a lot of what took place that night. And actually, it's where Trina and I, when we're really getting in, where we were meeting on Tuesdays, which we'll do tomorrow. So, journey with me in a memory that I shared with many of you uh, 6, 7 years ago. And tell me that when we get to the end of this, that the synchronicities are like this combination, because much of the material that has been covered since then, well, you'll see what I'm talking about. So in this case, I remember the visitor. It was in our bedroom. We were living in Colorado at the time. And as I wrote on this, and I did this in the middle of the night, I looked at the time stamp and it said 2:02 a.m. So yeah, they talk to us in our minds. They don't need a verbal language, never have. And since the diversity of the tongue is a curse on our species, it was designed to restrict us, to regress us, to divide us. And if you use telepathy as a normal means of communicating, think about it. Excuse me, do all aliens speak French? So the visitor had a few things to say. So, folks, get ready on this. Was it a gray? Don't remember it as a gray, but that was the best interpretation. So I wrote this down, and it's interesting because I did several videos after this, and now here we are, 2025, about rounding the corner where we can see the end of the year coming, and now what comes for 2026. So again, this is a diary that we can now look at and go back and say, well, what was really going on? Well, I think there was some serious channeling going on, is what I interpret it, but you tell me. So allow me to push this up. I need to get this up. Please hold on one second. Hopefully, there we go. As I wrote back then, I said this was a pleasant experience, and at no time did I feel uncomfortable. My visitor was polite and very well mannered. The visitor spoke in my consciousness and not with words, but with pictures and images. I was in a room with what looked like an IMAX screen. The images spoke and seemed to be alive. Odd thing was that it was the visitor doing most of the communication. I was too engrossed with what I was seeing and hearing. Next thing I was aware, I was back in our bedroom, my wife fast asleep, and our dog was aware of something. I then looked, and it was 4 a.m. exactly, and the visitor was still in my consciousness and suggested I go and write down everything, of which I did, albeit, as my wife said, more like a trance state while I was writing. Here is what I was shown. The new hybrid humans, they're living among us. Kind of what I was seeing. The alien races present in the world today represent a different set of forces from those who have visited humanity in the past. I believe the grays are a salutary lesson of what might well happen to humanity in the future if we disregard the possibility that we might have an eternal connection to a natural eternal state of existence beyond atoms. So the visitation was Sunday, February 2nd, 2000, the 23rd, 2020. Okay, there we go. That's why you write these things down. Now you have a full time. Was 1 a.m. and this is how it was told to me. Phase one, colonization of the earth, began about 10,000 years ago. All religions are based upon these events. There was no creation story as portrayed by the mindset of the rebels. Instead, it was a perversion of what actually did happen here on this planet. There are no actual humans, never was. All humans are essentially hybrids. The book of Genesis, the Quran, the Vedic, and all other such writings are all accounts from different points of view of the colonization of this planet using what was here, speaking of genetic material, placed within humanids and monitored for tens of millennia for the development of a yet future hybrid species derived from this mixed genetic material. This is how it was done on Earth. Earth was invaded. This has happened many, many times in the past. Some were violent, some were more cooperative, but nonetheless, Earth was invaded and it will yet be invaded again. Our current state of being was done by advanced alien geneticists who, or you could say, by the gods, for that is what they are to us, gods. Humanity was never a pure species. All the races are derivatives of what was the original package. This was a gradual process with different alien races and species sending their best scientists to Earth, for Earth is known as the laboratory for developing different life forms, testing them, cultivating them, and transplanting of new genetic material when complete. As man developed, there were a number of critical flaws found within the mixture of genetic material. This showed up in the DNA and RNA of the creature. During the last 100,000 years, many mistakes were noted in the human hybrids. During these incubations, traits were observed. Most had a very violent tendencies. Cranial development was slow. Intelligence was a problem in the more earlier experiments. Humans lacked the ability to talk, to perform complex problem solving, and interbreeding was a big problem. Early humans had an insatiable hunger for sex. They would breed with anything they could, and this resulted in a period of wild looking and acting offsprings from these encounters. The end result was a geneticist that the geneticist had to destroy those versions. A culling was agreed as the best way to deal with the mistakes. From here, only those humans who were not contaminated by the mixing of their blood, the DNA, were harvested and saved. This is the flood that most hybrid humans know about today, and this was why it occurred. The moving of a planet is no big deal. Planets can be wiped as well, especially living force planets. The mistakes were noted, and instead of a central lab facility, the different races decided to spread out over the planet with a new lab set up in different parts of the planet and new experiments began. Now, I want to stop right here because it was in Dr. Lynn's book that I'm reading, 5 years now later. And what she was writing as newly discovered archaeological artifacts that is saying the exact same thing. That's bizarre. I don't find that just mere coincidence. It's something here. This is a record of it. It's right there. Mm. Um, So they set up different parts of the planet and new experiments began. Some focused on developing different pigments, different physical abilities. Some were injected with DNA from distant galaxies, which resulted in some very bizarre abilities that shocked the scientists. A race of human hybrids began to show extraordinary abilities. They became stronger in all ways, even surpassing the aliens. They, in essence, these human hybrids, which fits the definition of the Anunnaki. That's what's so strange about this. And it sometimes go to show you that, you know, it's like sitting in your first algebra class. You have an understanding of basic mathematics, but now you're about to get supercharged. And you're going, okay, so math can do this. Or how about that first time you were in chemistry class? Just think about that. And so this is it's interesting because this is what I got in this visitation and writing it down. Am I ever glad that I did? Yeah. So anyway, they became stronger than the creators. They, in essence, these human hybrids became gods with all the abilities a god would have. This was the first genetic wars. The aliens had to call in reinforcements from their home planet. It took centuries to amass the forces of these aliens to build a coalition force and battle plans to deal with these new hybrid humans. In the time that was required to build the armies of the aliens, these human hybrids wreaked havoc on Earth. All the inhabitants of Earth at that time began to develop at a faster pace than in the past. Is it any coincidence that we're seeing that today? Wow. I mean, maybe the past does repeat itself. Or maybe these aren't as smart of gods as we thought. It's like, man, I mean, how many times do you get a bite at the apple? I mean, you've screwed this up so many times in the past. What the hell were y'all thinking? Yeah. Um, they began to advance in all the sciences. Astronomy, mathematics, agriculture, and other mental disciplines began to emerge, and this led to man declaring himself as God. New religions were brought forth. Some hybrids displayed remarkable powers of the mind, which led to more confusion, and eventually war broke out among the hybrids who called themselves gods. And it was at this time the galactic policing forces arrived en masse and a great battle broke out on Earth. These events have been recorded in some cultures, for our ancestors fought in this war, and humans were killed by the millions. So many humans were killed, it took centuries for us to recover from these battles. Our creators realized their mistakes and they spent hundreds of years removing certain genes from our DNA to ensure such an event did not happen again. I contend that what he was saying to me was, or I don't know, it was he or she, but anyway, don't even recall if there was a sex involved, a gender. But anyway, I interpret this as that's when they limited our lifespan. They limited the so-called ability of our intelligence. Something done, someone did, right? The aliens during the wars, and you could say this could be the Anunnaki. You know? During the wars with the hybrids, lost many of their kind as well. Many were captured by the hybrid humans, and the humans conducted experiments on the captured aliens, and much of the information extracted from the aliens was known only by a few humans, and this was the beginning of the bloodlines of the families. And that term, exact term, came up when I was reading. I went, what the heck? The knowledge was extracted by torture. This is what we learned from Ariel, from the captured aliens, was used to set up hybrid human dynasties on Earth to challenge the creators. They kept the technology to themselves to only better themselves while the rest of humanity suffered. They used this to enslave other hybrid humans. They used it to also for the hostage aliens to gain other technology from the aliens that had been forbidden to such low-level creatures, the hybrid humans. Torture, we use it today still. You want to get to the truth, bring pain in it. It gets to the truth real quick. From here, these hybrids began to mimic the creators and foolishly began experiments of their own and created a class of beings you know as angels and demons. They do exist, but not to what most hybrids believe today. Hybrids see them as good and evil, not realizing neither state actually exists, and new religions were invented to replace the aliens with the gods of the hybrid humans. And these hybrid rulers were of no compassion, no mercy, only servitude to the new masters. These human hybrids learned how to enslave certain aliens and use them and their knowledge to their own benefit and to rule over the other hybrid humans. A new hybrid plan was decided to be attempted to rescue the project, meaning us. Instead of another mass extinction event, the aliens dislike failure as much as we do, but in a much different way. It is beyond our ability to comprehend how they think. It was decided to use the current mindset, the human hybrids, and create a new hybrid, one that would claim as their own, even worship, and in different parts of the earth. A messenger hybrid was developed in their lab. They abducted females and inseminated them with an alien genetic material that would give these individuals special abilities other than the other hybrids. They would introduce a new paradigm of thinking, and it was hoped that the hybrid man would incorporate these principles into their psyche. Otherwise, the experiment would have to be abandoned and started over yet again. This was unacceptable for the aliens, for too much time and resources had been spent in trying to correct the flaws. The ending result of this experiment was Buddha, Christos, and a select few others who were programmed to plant the seed of peace instead of war. Unfortunately, this plan did not work as they had planned. It turned out man was more advanced in ways they had not anticipated, and in the early 1200s, another war was fought. But this war was not of man's doing. No, this war was of the aliens themselves. It became known that these aliens who had been captured by the humans had managed to get a message back to their home world about what had happened to them and were desperate for a rescue from the barbarians, us. It is told that one who delivered that message was the Christ, and when this group of aliens confronted the other members of the council and the council declined to intervene, a war broke out and was seen by millions of humans and was painted onto canvas as this war played out in the skies above the earth. It is spoken that the ones who had been captured by humans were tortured and killed before their brethren could help them. These aliens vowed to get their revenge upon all human life, and they released something organic upon the earth that killed millions of people, and they have been abducting humans ever since, and the other aliens cannot and will not intervene. Woe to mankind, for the price has not yet been paid. It is spoken that these aliens did something to time itself. Maybe this is where the lost history of time went to. No one knows for certain, other than there is missing time from our past. Phase 2, hybridization, the final colonization of Earth. In the late 1700s, a new, more progressive plan was implemented by the alien geneticist. It must be understood that the colonization of Earth never stopped. It is proceeding as planned and is now, for some reason, been advanced. More on this later. In the late 1700s, the abductions began to intensify. Humans were brought into the labs, both on crafts and land-based facilities. DNA extractions and injections were taking place. Females were forced inseminated, male semen was extracted, and monitoring devices implanted. Many of the world leaders were abducted and injected with a new genetic material. Phase 2 had started. I want to inject this into this. I found it interesting in the timelines. So, and this is just brainstorming, but could there be a correlation of what was being said here and the attack on the occult, witchcraft, pagans? I find it very interesting because that would have been the perfect place to gather DNA material. You could be shapeshifted into a monk, or you could have been a hybrid, or you could have been actually one of the Anunnaki. But anyway, could you imagine you're in the midst of these inquisitions? Um, you could extract all the DNA you needed. You could actually find the subject matters. Just a thought. Don't know. It must be understood by you, the reader, by this time in history, there were no original human templates left. All humans were now hybrids, but no humans knew this at the time. So the aliens operated with immunity, and they did not care if humans saw their crafts flying in the sky or under the water. That was not a concern. In the late 1800s, there was another encounter with another group of stellar raiders who happened upon Earth by mistake. These aliens are not like the others that have been here for nearly 700,000 years. It is not clearly known as to what happened, but there was a battle. In fact, a very big battle took place among the aliens, and it is still ongoing, which has complicated things for the original group who are responsible for our existence. They are our creators, but they will tell you we are not complete yet. The goal is to replace and remove all of the original humans from the records and to replace them with a more advanced hybrid species of human, and the plan is on schedule. The new arrival of aliens has drastically changed things. It is not fully understood what their mission or purpose is, but ever since their arrival, things have gotten bloodier, and it appears they have their own colonization plans, and they have plans to alter humans even more than the creators want. This is very bad news for all life on this planet. The 1900s, things go awry again. The 1900s brought many changes to the earth and humanity. There can be no argument that the 20th century brought more changes to the human condition and the planet more than any other time. The 20th century brought two world wars, the culling of nearly 1 billion people, economic upheavals to man learning to fly, the splitting of the atom, the introduction of the computer age, to man leaving the earth and stepping on the moon. Man advanced at a rate that is not natural and clearly shows something else happened. That happening had been the deliberate crashing of flying crafts known by most as UFOs. Here's the difference. The stories have been told are anything but actual. It has been said that these crafts crashed in the southwest United States after the U.S. began exploding A-bombs. The same occurred in Russia. It is just they did not talk about it like the Americans, and that for some unknown reason, not just one or two crafts were crashing for no apparent reason, but hundreds of UFOs were crashing all over the world for what reason no government will say. What these governments are not saying is that according to the Pentagon, in the 1960s, this was deliberate, not an accident, not a malfunction of the spacecraft, but they crashed deliberately for a reason, and that reason is not fully known or understood, but it seems that maybe something was released, a virus, an organism, the new element not known to either the Earth or man, but something was happening and it seemed to have a purpose. It is reported that many of these crashes that there were alien bodies were found in almost every crash, and each country took these bodies into their labs for experimentation and for study. What is now thought that this was done to inject something into the atmosphere that would attach itself to a living organism and inject itself into the DNA of the host. And the reason for doing such was to accelerate the colonization of the planet, to advance the hybridization of the last remaining humans, of the last alteration of our hybrid species. Reports of human abductions began to appear in newspapers and magazines. The first case was the Hills, reported in the early 1960s. From there, more reports began to show up, claiming more and more people experiencing nightmares of being abducted. Then animal mutilations began being reported, with reports of strange lights, all the blood being drained out of the carcasses, laser marks on the animals, and no tracks leading to or from the animals. What was not reported was the fact this was happening to humans as well. All local police reports were monitored and censored from letting the public know that this was also happening to people. Hundreds of bodies over the last century have been discovered in wilderness areas, in cities, in people's homes, some even discovered in cars of people drained of all fluids, organs missing, and all done with precision laser cutting tools. And the other thing not reported was what was missing in their brains. The pineal and pituitary glands were removed. By all accounts, things began to change again in the 1970s. More reports began surfacing about women becoming pregnant without having intercourse and then having their babies taken away by alien beings. More reports of young men losing time but distinct memories of semen being extracted from them. Lilith, succubuses, incubuses, think about it, and more people reporting marks or areas on their bodies itching around an object right under their skin. Meanwhile, more reports from around the world with pictures of UFOs, reports of UFOs, landings coming from civilians, local police, state law enforcement agencies, and military. More missing persons reports, more people capturing the aliens themselves on film and video, and more abductions. In the early 1980s, something extraordinary began to be reported, that alien children were living amongst us and that the government was aware of this and apparently knew of this and of the plans for the complete hybridization of the human species. The hybrid children were not the first of the genetic seeders, for throughout history they have been inserted into the tribes, clans, cultures, and societies of humanity. Many of the great leaders in our history were not just human hybrids, but hybrids that possessed altered DNA. And remember, none of us are humans. There are no true humans, only hybrids. It is just a matter of what is the codex number, which is in your DNA. It identifies which version you are and from which lab and race designation the DNA/RNA compounds within you is, and if your line will be among the surviving hybrids. The rapid insertion of hybrid newborn babies has changed our world as it was meant to be and continues yet today, but with a difference. Phase 3, the 2000, they live among us. I hope you're finding this somewhat interesting. I am. Project Hybrid, that's my name for what's happening, has already been implemented, and it must be understood by all human hybrids that a new breed is now here. They are genetically different from all other human hybrids. Many childbearing females are now giving birth to a new species of hybrids that contain the DNA RNA of the change. What is the change, you ask? It is phase 3 of the colonization of planet Earth, and it has been in the development for some time. The reason for phase 3 is because we have failed. This hybrid version of humanity is flawed and cannot be fixed. And instead of a mass extinction event, which still might happen, there is that other alien species we pissed off and the new group called the Stellar Raiders. It has been decided to advance the colonization plan and implement new protocols. The alien geneticists never stopped experimenting. It is an ongoing work in progress, and when it was discovered that the current group of human hybrids cannot be repaired, they immediately went to work to create a new human hybrid using genetic material from another species not of this world. Human geneticists have recently discovered that in the last 30 years, our DNA has changed or been altered by a staggering 7%, and they do not know why. And that is not all that has changed in less than the 30 years. Our bodies are changing, our intellect is declining, our immune systems are changing, and each day we seem to discover more changes. We are not all the same, and it can be reasoned that this carries over to the spiritual aspect of our existence. We are witnessing a new breed of human hybrids, ones who have no perceived soul or a soul as other humans define such, and do not show the same emotions, the same empathy for other humans, who have higher IQs than their peers, who have advanced motor skills. Some seem to have a completely different beliefs than other humans, physically stronger, and have skills mentally much more advanced than others in their age groups. Meanwhile, we are seeing more of the other human hybrids who are declining in intelligence, have suppressed immune systems, developing cancers faster than any other demographic age group, and are dying younger. Mankind is not who we think we are. We did not come from where we think we did. We were never created by a God of any divinity. We are not special in any sense at all. We are an experiment, and it is showing we are flawed. We are broken. We cannot be fixed. They have tried, and no one is going to fix us. There is no Savior, and our version will be allowed to die out. We are being replaced even as you read this. They have control of the planet, always did, and we are not in their plans for the future. Our replacements are already here. They are breeding with us. They are injecting a new code into us. The colonization of Earth is happening. It is almost complete. My visitors said many others have, are, and will be getting visits, and it's been true, a lot of them. There is more to the story that I cannot tell why I know this, but there is still more to come. However, I'm certain than ever before we are being replaced. The new hybrids are here, firmly entrenched into every aspect of what being human is. So, how about that one? I hope you've had fun, as I have, just reliving that. Uh, Quite remarkable, to say the least, and odd. I mean, imagine all that we have been through since then. And I can tell you, we've covered so many other authors, so many other papers, and they have said the same thing. Are there glasses to see the hybrids? I don't know. It's a good question. And again, you know, some can say, well, Steiger, you're full of shit. That's fine. I really don't care. But I would say this, um, that again, that was written, nearly 6 years ago, come to think about it. So it's interesting what was there. We've seen it in other books, other reports, other people that have seen the same thing. And I got to be candid with you. I had forgotten about the hybridization. And I don't know about you, but wow, look what's happened since then. You know, that was right before the bio attack. Wow. I'm looking back on this and I'm just going, whoa, 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 whoa. Let's just stop now. Let's just start thinking about this. Coincidence? I mean, they're just beginning to write about what we went through as a species in that time period. I mean, if you want to get really to the far fringe, I mean, it would have been the perfect cover, right? I'm just saying it's a possibility. Um, Anne says, yeah, someone did create them. I agree. I don't think it stops intelligences. And the thing about it is, and speaking to you, to your question, the challenge is, and what I am learning from people like Dr. Lin and so many others, um, we're limited in what we perceive intelligence to be. We think we know, we think we have the market cornered on that, but we really don't. In my former religion, Christianity, I remember specifically in the book of Psalms where God says, no, excuse me, it's Isaiah 54. It says, your thoughts are not my thoughts. My ways are higher than your ways. Telling us, in other words, you ain't ever going to get up here. But how would an alien intelligence look like? It would be godlike. And it's interesting. You see this hybridization and AI happening. You're now seeing humans that, for instance, with the baby boomers, we're not so susceptible to this. But if you look at the alphas, there's an amazing hybridization taking place. It's frightening for me to look at this because there is this adaptation of the blending above the inanimate and animate. That's alien to me. It's like, well, I don't think that that's our purpose because I'm telling the world that, listen, this is not a good thing, this technology, and we are the victims of it. And if you look back to Silicon Valley particularly, and you begin to really dig deep on this thing, there's too many freaking coincidences of individuals, happenings that don't quite add up. And then when you've discovered that in many of these companies, they're practicing Enochian magic. Now, Enochian magic, depending on where your studies come from, is a direct result of the Anunnaki. So is it possible that the Anunnaki are already here? They may have never even left. Maybe they're waiting for their friends to come back. I don't know, but I don't think they left. And I think that the introduction of technology in the 19th century, the acceleration to the 20th, and the rapid explosion of the 21st century says there's something else happening. Many of these Silicon Valley visionaries and tech giants, the Titans, have all reported visitations, thoughts, dreams coming from outside. Is that not the hybridization of a species? Maybe they were genetically planted within their mothers and how they come in. I mean, these stories are not just stories. We find out that, lo and behold, much of what was considered to be conspiracy ends up turning to be fact. So, what is happening, folks? And the thing about it is, the technology is not slowing down. And the way that it is expanding is frightening because it's no longer out here, it's in here. That's alien. That's a takeover. That's a conquest of a species. And maybe we were never that free to begin with. We were held down through the Dark Ages. There's a reason why they called it the Dark Ages. We have no idea what really happened. We have these huge gaps in our history, the chronology of who we think sapiens are. And even if there are Homo sapiens, then when the hell did the sapiens die out? When did the hybrids come in? Clearly, it shows that there was a hybridization program. Maybe the very creation story itself of this place called the Garden Eden was no more than a geneticist's lab. And we are seeing that the part of those, they died out. And now it's happening to humanity again. Is there another culling coming? It would appear. But I believe that this is not of man's doing. The culling that is about to take place, the blood will be flowing. It seems deliberate. And where's the technology? I asked the Anunnaki, what is this technology designed to do? Is it designed to aid war, or is it designed to prevent war? And why, Anunnaki, Silicon Valley, is it necessary for you to own my soul? Why is it necessary that you know everything about me? That's not human. That's alien. That's what a god would do. See, I was taught in the Bible, it says, oh, God knows every hair upon my head. Well, the son of a bitch didn't tell me that I was going to be having a receding hairline and going bald. What the hell was that up? If I'd known that when I was much younger, I may have been able to, you see what I'm saying? Folks, the evidence is right there in front of us. I'm just a small little channel, but I'm telling you, this is a message that needs to be gone out. They're changing us. They're changing us through pharmacology. They're changing us through our medicine. They're changing us through our religion. They're changing us through our philosophy. This is deliberate. It is designed. We're not smart enough to pick up on it except for a few. I'm not the only one talking about this. And I'm certainly not the first. I hopefully will never be the last. But you can assure yourself that that is more real than any other story out there. There is a deliberate hybridization. And the thing about it, other people like Chris Carter, Chris knew something, and he portrayed it out for all of us who remember the X-Files. Mulder knew about, right? That was part of the, he wanted the truth. What was the X-Files about? The whole conclusion was the hybridization of humanity. Fuck, that was 30 fucking years ago. And we just went, all right, no problem. Yeah. Because that's just Hollywood, There's nothing really truth to that. Keep believing that, right? This is serious. My wife and I were talking last night, and we were talking the grandchildren. They're in a reality that we are losing touch with. It's becoming harder and harder for the generation that is now on deck, the boomers. We're seeing it. The damn thing is that we were part of this. And I don't know what that does karmatic to a generation, but we were complicit in this. We were complicit in the change. And maybe it was our grandparents as well, our parents. I don't know. But I damn sure know this, that we were complicit in this. We allowed men like Musk and others to become trillionaires. Why? What need does one person have of $1 trillion? What could that do? Think about the selfishness of what's happening. That's alien. That's hoarding of technology. My visitor was right. The visitor was bringing to my memory many other pieces of it. And this channel has been dedicated. I've got a record of this, of being on the record. I was speaking of this a decade ago. And nothing has changed except the rapid acceleration of the hybridization of the human species. In 50 years, it won't look like humans anymore. The soulless ones walk among us. But then again, they may have a different type of soul. Who knows? There's an area of this is that I'm discovering that the geneticists, as advanced as they are, they still wonder, and they live vicariously through us. They don't quite understand this thing, the soul, this thing that is that they've tapped into. It's still a mystery. They're far more advanced, trust me, than we are. But that's why you should study the occult. That's why you should practice the occult. There is and will always will be doors, portals open, knowledge sources that you can tap into. And once they find out that you're a receiver, even better if you're a transmitter, they will talk. They're talking now. It's a warning. This is not a warning of something with the sun. This is not a warning of a war. What this is a warning of our species. I've lived my life, hope to live a little bit more of it. And they can't take that away. But to those of you who are of a younger generation, I weep for you. Not enough of you are awake. Not enough of you are out there. They've distracted you, and they're changing you. They're changing you faster than you realize. It's in the very food you drink, eat, the very water you drink, the very air that you're breathing. For my generation, they don't care. We're already collateral damage. But I'll speak as long as I have a voice. Heavy, heavy stuff. I love it. Who's that, Bonnie? Who would you wish that we could have on? If you say Jason, I've tried. I've tried with that cat so many times, but yeah, anyway. Uh anyway, stop and think about it. We're going to continue on this. We may even continue this tomorrow. We're going to definitely continue this on Wednesday because it doesn't stop. There's other things that we've got to kind of and I'll be using this, and I highly encourage you to get this. She has about 5 other books. I've got them coming, and but I think you'll find this. It's a challenging read in some spots, others not so much. Um, in fact, I believe that when we do get together, this whole thing this message that was given nearly 6 years ago. Wow, think about this. I'd love to have your comments on it. I mean, I've read this and I read it and I've just read it again. All of you lists were with me, and I'm just shaking my head, going, "Yeah, yeah, that channeling thing, it'd be real." . That's all I can say. Thank you, Truth. Yeah, we're going to talk more about it because just think we may be the last Truman hybrids of our genetic class. I'm serious. There's already a new class out there. I know that. I just don't think enough other people know that. uh, Funky Starbucky, how's it? Keep it up, brain. I've been here for over 10 years and I'll last so long as I've been spending the word knowledge in it. Well, thank you. Thank you. Hey, Nina. Um, she says talk about go and watch her show, The Truth Bomb. Okay. We are the Mandela effect. Boy, ain't that the truth. Hey, Stephanie, good to see you. Guy says keep your seeds. Yeah. Yeah. If you got some heirloom seeds, be pretty good. Thanks, Nina. Hey, Jan. It's been a strange, hasn't it, Jan? We've been going hand in hand, just kind of skipping along. But this is really intense, and I can sense it within my spirit. This is not it needs to be out there bigger and bigger. There's other platforms that have bigger audiences than mine. Hopefully, they'll get this message and begin to realize, look into this. It's happening. It's happening to us. Humans of the planet, they're changing you. You are being changed. All right, Colty. The Mandela effect only shows what group you're in. Well, in that case, this one here, they're really spinning around. All right, folks, much love to you. Thanks for tuning in. I'll be with the ladies tomorrow. We're going to pick up on this, the change. And there is this other factor too. I mean, I don't think that any of us are immune from it. But I think for some of us that, there is this unknown factor. With any experiment, there is always that 1% that unknown. And particularly where energy is concerned and forces. The interesting thing, we're all human hybrids, and some of us have the ability to literally convert that energy. And then there's those of us who are the product of the 70s and the 60s. They're going, I don't know what the fuck to do with this guy. So that's just the way it is. It's like, well, come on in. If you like the music, well, dance, children, dance. That's what I just got to say. All right, everybody. Much love to you. Thanks, Rick. Thank you, brother. See everyone tomorrow. Be good or be good at it and love yourself. Be kind to your mind and start asking these Anunnaki, what the hell's up? See if they answer you. All right, everyone.